Greetings. This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is a review of Secret Life of Pets. I understand that Stone Gremlin Productions has reviewed this as well, but I have not seen the review yet. This is about it's a cartoon movie by Illumination Animation. They were like Despicable Me, the Minions, that kind of thing. I did not review the Minions really. Anyway, this movie takes place in New York City, and it stars a bunch of comedians, including Louis C.K. and Dana Carvey and some other people. Doesn't matter. You can look that up. This review is not going to be about who's in it, really. I'm sure the other ones will be. But rather, the story. The critics like it. Rotten Tomatoes has given it over 83%. I'm not an official critic, so I actually give it only barely 3 stars, and it's better than average. I'll give it that. It's better than average. It's the previews and the commercialism and all the merchandising and stuff has driven this movie for people that aren't critics kind of off the beaten path. They don't really want to deal with it. I went to see it because it had the rating, but it was better than I thought it would be, and it was pleasantly, surprisingly better than I thought it would be. It's still not Pixar. It's not Disney. It's trying to be Pixar. It's trying to be Toy Story. There's a lot of Toy Story. I thought it was actually more like the Garfield movie, as well as the 1980s Garfield comic strip thing. Then it was Toy Story, because Garfield was a cat and a dog, and so sort of its own thing. The premise in the movie, as Mark's Cards pointed out last night, was that that's a very old premise. You have like this top dog character who a new character comes in who's kind of dopey that messes up the top dog character's story. It's been around since probably silent cinema. That idea has been around forever, so having that happen is interesting. This takes place over apparently a day, because nobody's missing anybody. No one even misses the dog walker and stuff. Yeah, how they go about doing their identity thing, unless this story takes place before the age of chips and the dog collar, that that wouldn't happen. They'd scan them and go, okay, it belongs to so-and-so. The dog catchers are, of course, evil and bungling and kind of an archetype of the two dogs, because there's like a skinny dog and a fat dog. Then there's like the skinny dog catcher and the fat dog catcher. They seem to be the only 2 dog catchers in New York. What basically happens in the story is you're introduced to what was in the first trailers. All the characters that are goofy. You got like the wiener dog who uses the blender on himself to massage himself. You got the rock and roll poodle. You've got the obese cat Garfield archetype, played by a female version of Garfield called Chloe. You've got another little poodle dog that loves the hero dog. You've got apparently a bunch of dippy owners that don't realize their dogs are doing this stuff. Maybe they're not really doing all this crazy stuff. Maybe it's just they're imagining it while they're in their house together, and they're just going on an adventure in their minds, and they come back. And it's fine. It would make more sense. But no, it's a cartoon, so they are doing crazy stuff in the movie. In order to explain the movie, there will be spoilers, just because that's the explanation of the movie. Many detractors were annoyed by the rock and roll punk rock poodle, the gross the dogs sniffing each other thing, and some of that, and the bunny poops at one point. But these elements were, well, not the poops part, but the other 3 elements were part of the story. The wiener dog is long and wiener-like. There's the rock and roll poodle. They explained that. So it's not just an in-joke where the dog does that. The dog is apparently a party DJ, and secretly all of the other dog friends get together somehow, and they all have. He's like the DJ. So that actually leads to something. It's not just a joke. It's yeah. There's a dog walker who apparently loses the two hero dogs early on, and the small short one and the fat new one, and they have to get back to the city, but they get captured by this evil bunny rabbit who takes them to the sewers and wants to have them initiated into the evil clan or cult or whatever they're doing. They have an alligator and a snake with one tooth and all kinds of weird stuff, weird symbology. I wouldn't say it's so much. Well, there it's kind of Ratatouille a little bit, but and no, Flushed Away actually. They do allude to that. I think that was one of their things too. There's a lot of other things going on in the movie. It's very manic and random and hyperactive. There's a scene in which the two dogs get trapped in a sausage factory, and the sausage starts singing as though and dancing around as though it's a sausage party movie that's coming out. I don't think that's Illumination though. It's weird. And then they eat some of them, which is kind of funny that they're like biting their heads off while they're singing. But they're doing the Grease song, and it's like only the 40-something people in the audience are going to get that, and then maybe not. Because Grease was actually made for our parents' generation. So even though we got the reference, we're like, wait a minute. Who's the grandfathers? I guess grandmothers watching this? Okay. If there are some. Maybe Grease song. But with hot dogs being just weird. There's a lot of weird things going on. There's a connection to the Dory movie. There's a scene in which the animals circumnavigate the Brooklyn Bridge, driving a bus to chase after the dog truck, which goes over the bridge. Very similar to the end of Finding Dory, in which there's a chase down a road, and then falling into the water at the end with the truck, and then them being rescued. It's like very similar, like spot on same scene. Just I think they did it better in Finding Dory than this one, but Disney, Pixar versions, at least fan, let's say. But yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a chase caper over the course of one day. I'm surprised nobody notices they're gone. I guess they were off at work or something. There's a hawk that like is kind of a twisted scene with his hawk with his face covered. The little dog, girl dog, befriends to go and rescue the other dog. The hawk has actually been eating other animals whenever they come into his little abode thing. And there's like bones everywhere. So there's this weird sort of stuff going on. Some of the people die in the story. There's an evil snake guy who is essentially given the old piano crunch gag thing to him, except instead of a piano, it's pieces of a brick wall that comes down, which I think would alert everyone above that something's going on down in the sewer. But no, it doesn't. Also, the sewer leads out into the other side of Manhattan somehow, but it doesn't. Maybe they were making fun of Maze Runner, which did that too. Don't think they were though. I think they were just doing their own random thing. Very random. Yeah, very very odd. The characters are what make it. I think the voices are what makes it. The jokes sometimes don't work, but that's okay because the characters are doing what they're doing, and they're pets and they're being cute. So in that sense, they're doing cute things, except for that weird, let's go into the sausage place and eat a bunch of sausages and then have a hallucination that we're singing the Grease song while floating around in a sea of dancing sausages. It's just really strange and strangely homoerotic. Lots of sausage. Lots of sausage. Symbolic for something. Magician bunny rabbit guy who comes in later and rescues them. But yeah, so there we go. So that's the movie. That's the movie. Yeah, sausage.